This is the Shaver Prep Football Podcast, Episode 7, presented by Aquarius Home Services and brought to you by True Stone Financial. Week 2 of the prep football season in Minnesota is now in the books, and the biggest matchup so far has Edina in a big win over Eden Prairie on Friday night in a battle of Class 6A powers. The Hornets got 4 TD passes from Mason West to Meyer Sweeney, one of them covering 85 yards, as Edina beat EP 35-14 in a true statement game in Class 6A. Also in 6A, Prior Lake lost a rivalry game against Shakopee 28-21 last Friday night. Now, when I visited Prior Lake recently at a practice, I noticed something about head coach Matt Gagenheimer that you just don't see every day.
So I've had tattoos for a little bit now. I've most recently got them kind of when I hit 50, maybe a midlife crisis, I don't know. But we have a philosophy in Prior Lake that's called Grit, Team, Love, and it encompasses kind of our culture and who we are. You know, grit, making sure, you teach kids how to be tough, how to, deal with adversity, and how to just be disciplined in life. Team, how do you be a better teammate, a better husband, a better father, all that. And then love, how much do you really care about each other? And if we can accomplish those 3 things, I think we're going to be successful on the field and off the field.
So tell me about what you did, though, here.
So grit, team, love, and I have family here. And I've just kind of added through the years, and it's kind of my alter ego a little bit, I guess.
So you did a lot of that this spring?
Yep, I finished a lot of this spring, but, I'm into the motorcycle riding, and when I'm not coaching.
I love that. Our Talk North Walk the Talk winner from last week is Brecken Courage, running back from Elk River. He rushed 4 times for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns in a big win over Brainerd. His TD runs covered 94 and 70 yards. On the season, Courage has just 14 carries for 449 yards, averaging 32 yards per carry. He has 5 touchdown runs of 78, 66, 85, 94, and 70 yards. Amazing. Elk River bombed Brainerd 50-14 and are now 2-0 on the season. On this show, Forest Lake Junior defensive lineman and future Gopher Howie Johnson will join me in just a minute. But first, former Viking great Matt Birk is here. From Cretin to Harvard to the Vikings to a Super Bowl championship with Baltimore. But nothing, he says, compares to Friday Night Lights. Well, Matt Burke's with me, former Viking great football player, won a Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens along his football journey. Started out playing high school football at Cretin-Derham Hall and went to Harvard to not only play football, but study a little bit, I suppose, at Harvard. I've known you for 25 plus years through your career and everything. And I've heard you speak at the Minnesota Football Coaches Association, and you do such a great job of kind of putting into context what high school football is about, what's important, why it's important. So let's start there. Talk about your experience and then why you feel high school football is such an important thing.
Yeah, well, high school football changed my life, and I don't say that because I played in the NFL, because I never thought I'd play in the NFL.
Right.
I grew up, loved sports, loved all sports, but wasn't great at any of them, which was fine. It was fine back then.
Yeah.
You just played. Kids just played. And transferred to Cretin-Derham Hall High School my sophomore year and had some buddies there, and they said, you should go out for football. Practice starts in August. You meet some more guys. And, I'd kind of grown a little bit.
How big were you? Do you remember?
I hit a growth spurt. I was like 6'2", 6'3", but I was like a $190. I was kind of a string bean at that point. And I was like, all right, and went out for football, and I was kind of good at it. I was like, oh my gosh, some raw talent that this guy's going to be great. But I was like, I could play.
Yeah.
And I remember I was a sophomore, and we were over on the sophomore field, and I see the varsity practicing, and it was like, Chris Walsh, and Derek Engler, who went to Wisconsin, and Carl McCullough, Wisconsin. I was like,
yeah,
I will never play varsity football. Those guys will kill me. That's kind of where they will kill me.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the one, Mal Scanlon, the
I love
Cretan
Mal.
coach,
Yeah.
who I know Mal my whole life.
Yeah.
Grew up with his kids. And he cornered me in the hall one day and he said, "You're going to play football next year, right?" And I was like, "Well," and he says, "Listen," he goes, we need you. And he goes, "You're a good football player." And I don't know if he meant that or not, but when he said that, it was like, I was like, man, he believes in me. Why don't I believe in me?
Right.
And it kind of gave me the confidence. And, and so I say all that to, like, high school football changed my life because it taught me so many things. It taught me about, I could probably do more than I actually think I can do. Taught me how to suffer, how to delay gratification, how to be part of a team. I just think I look at high school football, it's a great institution. And you've been around the game, you've been around high school football longer than I have. There's not a high school football coach in America that's doing it for the money,
right?
That's really doing it because so someone can say how great a coach they were, how many games they won, how many state championships. Right. They're doing it because they want to influence young men and help these boys become men. This is their ministry. It's their vocation, I joke around. I say, like, coaching high school football is the full-time job that gets in the way of your full-time job. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just this critically important institution, especially these days where half our boys in America are growing up without a dad in the household. And who knows if there's even a positive male role model in their life. High school football coach can be that. The assistant football coaches can be that. Gives kids something to be a part of. And I think it's a great game. It's a great thing. And I also love the fact that in this world of youth and high school sports where everything's becoming professionalized or privatized with the clubs, they can't touch high school football. I mean, they can do 7-on-7s and this and that, but they'll never. High school football will always stay in the school because of the liability,
right?
And that's a great thing because I remember as a kid who's kind of trying to find their way and where they fit in, I remember how much pride I felt putting on that high school football uniform and running out on that field on a Friday night under the lights. I mean, it might as well have been, to me, it was the biggest stage in the world.
Yeah.
Even though there's ones a lot bigger, but in high school, that was as big as it got. So I love high school football. I love high school football coaches. And I got boys now. I got a junior and a freshman. They're playing high school football, and I just love being a part of it now as a parent.
So just to put it in context, Matt was a junior in 1992, right?
It's junior, yeah.
Yep. And so you went to the state championship game. You were runner-up to Lakeville that year.
They beat us twice that year,
19-7.
Yeah,
and I think
they should have beat us by more. They were good.
And you mentioned Carl McCullough. He was on that team in 92, right? Did you block for Carl McCullough?
In the semifinals, we beat Stillwater. We smoked Stillwater and had no business. And Carl went for 5 touchdowns, 230 yards. It's amazing what you remember, right? I mean, how many times have I been hit in the head? How many games have I played it? Carl McCullough had 5 touchdowns, 200-some yards, and we beat Stillwater and had no business doing that. And it was incredible. And we Lakeville was really, really good that year. It had Mike Dowdy and John Jellum and Matt. I mean, it's amazing. Like, how do I remember these guys?
Right.
I mean, because I watched Prep Sports Extra. That's why.
Mike Dowdy ended up going to Notre Dame.
Notre
He was
Dame.
A great offensive.
Yeah, John Jellum went to Minnesota. I mean, it was like.
And George Thole was the coach at Stillwater. Legendary. George
Yeah,
Thole.
we were not supposed to win, but Carl just went crazy, and everyone's like, "Man, Carl's great," and geez, these O-linemen must be pretty good too. I was like, you'd be pretty good at O-line if you're blocking for Carl McCullough in high school. That's the one thing. You want to talk about college, high school, pro, Shaver, the one thing I've benefited from is like unbelievable skill guys playing Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss. I mean, you name it, right? It's like that's how you become a really good offensive lineman. Robert Smith.
It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do.
Well, you know what? If a guy can make a hole when there's nothing, Adrian Peterson made me look really, really good for a lot of times. But that's the beauty of it.
So then you end up going to Harvard. So how did that happen? And at that time in the early 90s, what was the Ivy League like for football?
Well, I never thought I'd play college football. That wasn't on my radar. I had a good senior season. Had a lot of fun. We lost 9-7 to Apple Valley. I hate Apple Valley. I hate the school. I hate the town. I hate the people. I'll never drive through Apple Valley anymore. Quick story. I'm playing in a golf tournament like many years ago, and there's this big guy behind me. He looks like I'm like, done. And he comes up behind me and goes, "Hey, you Matt Burke?" I said, "Yeah, who are you?" He said, "I actually played against you. We played against each other in the Metrodome senior year." I said, "What's your name?" He goes, "My name is Brad DeFaw." And Brad he was a football and hockey player. I think he played
Yes.
college hockey.
Yes.
And he played D end, and I was playing, and he played
Yeah.
tight end, and I was tackle and D end, and it was back to play two ways.
Play
You never
both
come off
ways,
the
yeah,
field.
right.
And so we went against each other all game, and I just told him how much I hated Apple Valley. But anyways, what was the question?
So Harvard. So how did you end up at Harvard?
Yeah.
And what was that like to play Ivy League football?
After my senior season in football, Rich Kallick,
Yes,
coach, came up to me
great
and
Rich
said, "Hey, there's some colleges I want to talk to you about playing football." I said, "Actually, I'm all set. I got accepted early to Marquette in a physical therapy program. I was gonna be like a physical therapist, athletic trainer."
Wow.
And he's like, "Well, some of these schools are like Ivy Leagues and service academies," and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll talk to them." And I wasn't getting recruited by any big schools really. And so I thought I was going to go to West Point. Actually, I didn't know, but okay, I was kind of like that level of player. I could go, and so I was all set to go to West Point. Last second, I visited Harvard. There was a kid from Cretin-Derham Hall, Adam Gola, who was part of my story, and Adam was playing football at Harvard, and I stayed with him on the visit, and I just said, I could see myself there. Adam was from next street over from me in the neighborhood, 6'4", red hair. I was like, yeah, okay, this makes sense.
That fits.
And I ended up there. And so Tim Murphy, who just retired this year after 30 years, I was his first recruiting class. I would say up to that point, Harvard football and the Ivy League for the most part was kind of like extracurricular intramural level. It's not athletic scholarships.
Yep.
And like Carm Koza from Yale, he was the coach at Yale. Carm Koza, he had Heisman Trophy winners at Yale. 60s, 70s, Ivy League football was a thing.
It's right.
Really fell off. And so Tim Murphy came in from Cincinnati, top 25 program, and he said, we're going to run this like a top 25 program. And it all changed. And then you started to see the rest of the Ivy League follow suit to where it is today. They run it like 1A FBS football.
And there are quite a few Minnesotans who end up going Ivy League.
And now the Ivy League, there's probably, 10, 12, 15 guys a year coming out, and either a couple of them are getting drafted, a lot signing free agent contracts. And
how stressful was that to balance football with your studies?
Listen,
at
I've
Harvard.
known you a long time. I'm not going to lie to you, Shaver. This was the advice I got, okay? Like Harvard, you can. There's some really, really brilliant academic people there. Somebody told me, look, you ain't going to get A's, okay? You can get B's, but you ain't going to get A's. So, right, a lot of life's about expectations. And they were like, and don't go pre-med because, and I was like, that makes sense. So I was like, let's see, am I going to be econ, psych? So I went econ and I got B's, and
but that was good.
That's
though.
manageable. That's managed. I also had to work because I was not on scholarship, and I needed tuition money. So there's a lot going on. And for me, I don't know, you know me, I don't like, okay, Harvard's this, it's a brand, it's a place, it's great. But my experience there, it was football defined a large part of it because that's what I did a lot of the time. And then, hung out with football players and hockey players off the field. And so people say, what's Harvard like? I said, I can tell you what my experience was like, but there's a lot of different ways to experience it. And it's kind of not typical. We tried hard in school, but we did other things too, Shaver.
So Matt ends up getting drafted by the Vikings in the 6th round in 1998. You kind of were a backup for the first 2 years of your career. And then in 2000, you become the starter, and things just start to take off.
Yeah.
That part of your football journey, sum that up. What was that like to be, because you are considered one of the greatest Vikings to ever play, certainly that position at center, but even overall.
Well, so I feel for 2 years I was a backup, and thankfully, because I wasn't ready to play in the NFL, and I got to learn from Jeff Christie at center, and then of course, Randall McDaniel. You can learn anything from Randall McDaniel because he's just like physically, just head and shoulders way above me. Yeah. Stussy was great. Corey Stringer was great. Dave, all those guys, they were great at just kind of. There was no tension like, oh, you're going to take my job. Listen, we knew who the starters were. So they were very forthcoming with knowledge. I get to room with Jeff my rookie year.
Yeah.
Let me think. Jeff Christie's a Pro Bowl center. He's got to have a roommate, and he's got to get stuck with this rookie, right? I mean, those were the Red McCombs days. We had to share rooms.
Purple pride.
Yeah. And, it's kind of like when I was telling you about my high school experience. Jeff
Yeah.
left via free agency, and Mike Tice was like, look, there's going to be an open competition. You're going to try out for center. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to tell you, it's wide open, but he's like, you should win the competition. And I never really, I'd played a little bit of center in practice, but I was like, really? I was like, Tice, you think I play center in the National Football League? He's like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, well, I know Mike Tice knows O-line play.
Yeah.
He's been in this league a long time. He's
Right.
coached Pro Bowlers.
Right.
If he thinks I can do it, then I should probably believe in myself. And so, you just work hard, and again, great coach in Mike Tice, Dante Culpepper.
Yep.
That took some of the pressure off, because it was like, that 98 team tried to hang on in 99, Jeff Jordan, but we kind of blew that up, right? And it was sort of like starting fresh, no expectations. And Dante, he was coming in like Dante believed in himself.
Yeah.
And I fed off that too. And then Moss, it was like, okay, let's see what we can do here. And we surprised a lot of people that year as a team.
Yeah.
And I certainly, kind of came out of nowhere, if you will. And it just ran right place, right time, man. I mean, and I got to watch Jeff do it for 2 years. We used to pull the center back then, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was Jeff's deal. And so Mike Tice is like, look, you can run. You saw Jeff do it. You know what it looks like. So you can do it. And kind of took off from there.
So not only do you have a great career on the field, but then off the field in 2011, you win the Walter Payton Award, which is for community service off the field. And that kind of defines a lot of your life. To me, when I see you, I see a great football player, but I also see a very compassionate person who has helped a lot of different organizations along the way. Was that I assume that was a big deal for you when you won that.
Well,
award.
you win an award like that. I mean, gosh, you don't do things to win awards. Obviously, you know that. I mean, you do a lot of stuff. We all do stuff.
Right.
I've always said, look, I think most people, if you can help someone out, you will. And if you have a platform, if you're on TV or if you're a football player, it's easy.
Right.
You can do it at scale pretty easily.
Yeah.
Leverage whatever you have.
Yeah.
But I was a rookie. I made the team miraculously in '98. That team was loaded, and I made it, right? And so you remember how this goes. You have final cuts.
Yeah.
Which this is back, 1998. No internet, no whatever.
Right.
So there's final cuts. There's no media there that day.
Yep.
And they just make the cuts, and you have a quick practice, and Denny gets up there and he goes, hey, look, for you guys that aren't familiar with how things go around here, tomorrow's Tuesday, okay? We call it Community Tuesday.
Yep.
You get out in the community.
And he's really the one that started
He
this
did.
too.
That was Denny.
Yes.
A lot of Denny.
The NFL has followed suit because of what Denny Green did.
He said, if you don't have anywhere to go, that guy over there, that's Brad Mattson. He goes, he'll find a place for you to go. And I said, well, listen, 53 guys made this team. There's no doubt I'm number 53. So, one, this is cool. I'll go out and help. But two, I better get out in the community, right? And so I went over to Brad, and Brad said, yeah, hey, I'll send you to this school. And I went to a school in Minneapolis, and back then we wear our jerseys,
right.
And the kids loved it. Yeah. And I thought, they don't even know who I am, and they love it, so this is cool. But to tell those kids about the importance of education, because I was a rookie back then, I did not think I was going to last 15 years in the NFL, right? So it's like, listen, guys, I'm telling you, football's great, but it's going to end for me, and my education's the most important. I did 100% believe that message, and I was a good messenger for that. I was an example. So I was like, Brad, that was great. Like, send me to a school every week, because I love kids. I believe in it.
It's awesome.
And it just kind of, went from there.
Yeah.
And, when you play for the Vikings or you play for NFL team, corporations are willing to get behind you, give money. You can start to do big events, raise awareness, raise more money. And I think anybody would put in the effort that I put in, or that hundreds of other NFL players put into their community work, because it's so easy, and it's the right thing to do, and it feels so good. Yeah. And we were like Brad Mattson. I know you know Brad.
He's great.
The best. Yeah. The best. Department of One community service guy for the Vikes.
All right. So there's a lot of high school football players and coaches who are watching this. Give them some advice. Give those players advice, or what should they focus on? What should they think about as they begin their football journey? Because you've been through so much, you've seen so much. Are there some nuggets there that they should think about as they move forward?
there's a lot, but I kind of like to try to narrow it down so you might actually remember what I'm going to tell you. Listen, I've been lucky to play in high school, play in college, play in the NFL, play in a Super Bowl. Never had more fun playing football than in high school. And people say, do I miss?
Is that true?
That's 100%
Even
true.
in the Super Bowl?
I don't miss the NFL. Super Bowl afterwards was a great moment. It's a great achievement.
Right.
But then you kind of realize, it's like you get to the top of the mountain and you're like, oh, this is cool. But I kind of realize now it was all about the journey to get here.
Really?
Yeah. And that was my experience. But man, in high school, you'll never have more fun because it's just about the game. That's it. And the guys. That's it.
Yeah.
And I hate to see this now with the recruiting and, the social media. I get it. Life's different. But my advice is don't be in the now. Be in the now. Tomorrow's going to take care of itself. But you only have a few opportunities to play high school football. When it's over, it's over. And you get to college. I remember getting to college and I was like, wow, this isn't quite as much fun because if we don't win, these coaches, they get fired and then they got to move their families. And so no one's kind of, listen, I don't want to say it's not just a transaction in college, but it's more of a business. And then the NFL, it's all business. That's correct. Right? And in high school, just keep it about the game, keep it about the guys, and just, be there.
And maybe don't stop believing in yourself because look at you.
No,
right?
No.
And there's also people, Matt, that come across you in the course of your life that change the direction of your life. And sometimes you don't know that that's what's happening until you look back years later and go, wow.
Yep.
Mal Scanlon changed the direction of my life.
Mal Scanlon, Rich Cal, Glenn Horiza. Len Horiza, God rest his soul, was a basketball coach and a sophomore football coach. And that's why, coaching is it's just so critical right now in our society. Yeah. And you're right. But no, I've never met anybody that's played high school football that's regretted it. There's always that temptation as a football player. Well, this is kind of hard. Maybe, they're out in the back of your mind. I could quit. And a lot of guys do. Don't do it because you will never regret playing high school football. And I'll say this too, the lessons that the game has taught me, I could list 100 of them. And if you want me to, I will. But I'll say this. What I learned, sort of how to approach football and what I learned playing football, that's how I approach my marriage. That's how I approach being a dad. That's how I approach business. I mean, I just feel like that there's these core things in football that you can transfer into every other single part of your life. And, what it takes to be a great football player and a great football team are the same things that help you be a great husband and a great father and a great friend and a great business partner. And it's you say you don't understand the people. You don't understand what these kids don't understand what they're learning right now and how it's going to pay off for them later on in life. Yeah. And so just, man, stick with it. Just grind and just embrace that grind. And I say this to every team I talk to, been fortunate. You go out and you say, well, how many guys are on this team? And they say, well, there's 50, there's 60. Yeah. You know why there's not 200 guys out for this team? Because football ain't for everybody. Yeah. And it does mean something if you play high school football and you play through your senior year like that. It's not just something you did. I think it says something about you as a person because football's not. I played basketball in high school too. There wasn't a day of basketball practice I didn't look forward to because, what am I going to do? I'm going to fire up threes and I'm going to, maybe you got to run a little bit after, but basketball was fun, practice games. Hey, this is great. I didn't get nervous before basketball games. I mean, I was so nervous before football games, every level, even in the NFL, I'd throw up before every game. Football's a hard game, man. And it's not one of these games where, oh yeah, we got practice day, this will be fun. It's not a fun game in that sense. It's hard, and you got to grind. It's the grind, and you do it. You lift the weights, and you go through practice, and you do all that for 10 opportunities a year to play. I got to tell you something. That's life. Life's a grind, man. I mean, and when you can learn to do that, and when you figure out about yourself that I can grind, I can suffer, I can do more. I can keep keep going. You go beyond your self-imposed limits. Then you got a chance to have a great life then. Yeah. So man, what a game. And and I told you, I got to tell you this too, because I want your listeners here. When I called you, when you retired, air quotes, what did I told you, I said, when I was in high school, we'd go whoop somebody, because we always whooped them.
Yep.
Except in the playoffs. And we'd go to Devani's. We'd go to Devani's and get the pizza bread or garlic cheese bread and pizza hoagies, eat those real quick, and then we'd go to somebody's basement, and we had to get down there for Pep Sports Extra, and we had to watch to see like what one play were they going to show on Prep Sports, and we're going to see yourself on TV, man. Like Prep Sports Extra was a huge part of my high school football experience. And just being in the basement with the guys after a win. We had girlfriends that were way better looking than we deserved because we played football, and that's why they were dating us. Like those were good days, man. So yeah, thanks for all you've done for high school football.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure.
It's always great to see you. Thanks, Matt.
You too, Fred.
We'll be right back. When I met Jeff, the owner of Aquarius Home Services, I got it. He started the business in 1987 with one goal in mind: great customer service every single time. It's not a buzz phrase. Customer service is at the heart of Aquarius Home Services. I'm a customer. I see it. I feel it. And trust me, you will too. Cooling, heating, water treatment, plumbing, electrical, and more. Aquarius Home Services, earning the right to be recommended. Our Talk North games of the week this week in the outstate, the rivalry game, Caledonia at Chatfield. Both teams 2-0. These teams have a storied past, and it should be a great matchup. And in the Metro, a huge Class 4A game, undefeated Becker at unbeaten Holy Angels. Becker survived a 13-9 win at Providence Academy last week. Holy Angels loaded with talent. Fun matchup on Friday night. And in Class 6A, the Battle of Lakeville is this Friday night with unbeaten North at once beaten South. South head coach Ben Burke explains why this is such a big deal.
This city supports football, right? Whether you're in the northern side or the southern side, we really support football, and they get excited about it. And then they like to compete, the two communities with, and it's not always so much the kids, it's the parents and the rest of the community. And there's always bragging rights on the line. My 5th grade son's thinking about it. It's his first year playing them. So that's it gets ingrained in them when they're little, but it's a lot of fun. And it helps us really sharpen our skills because we know that there's a good team right up the street that we're looking to compete with every year.
And you've had their number.
Lately, yeah. But we're coming off, when I took over, there was 10 years in a row that they beat us, right? And so I think that's still slanted in their direction. So I know that they're working as hard as ever. They got a talented team. So it really doesn't matter what happened last year. It's just about the two groups this year and see what they can do together.
And let's not forget about Thursday night this week, one really great matchup. Undefeated Edina travels to unbeaten Minnetonka. It's also the skipper's big tackle cancer game, which leads me to my next story. Barnesville is 2-0. They'll host undefeated Pelican Rapids this Friday night, but there's more to this game than that, way more. Both of these teams recently lost coaches to cancer and decided to make Friday night a joint tackle cancer game. In fact, the end zones at Barnesville are always painted with Trojans spelled out, but you see the NS are in a different color. That's in honor of the late Nathan Strand. His cousin, Bryan, is the head coach at Barnesville. Well, Bryan Strand is the head football coach at Barnesville High School, but we're not here necessarily to talk about football. Bryan is going to join us to talk about tackle cancer and why their game on Friday night against Pelican Rapids is such a big game. Friday night, September 13th, Coach, you host a TC game. I'll let you kind of explain all the particulars and why this is such a big deal for you guys.
I've been the tackle cancer rep, I suppose, for the last 8 to 10 years, I suppose, since we've been doing it. And we actually were hit pretty hard last year with cancer. One of our coaches, who you see over my left shoulder, Nate Strand, who happens to be my cousin, lost a very quick battle to liver cancer. So we felt it was a great time to tie those two things together. Nate had been on our staff for about 15 years. This would have been his 15th season, actually. He came to us in 2010, fresh out of college. His dad was a longtime coach at Stewart, Minnesota, and then they became McLeod West. Actually won, I think, the 2002 or 2003 state championship down there at McLeod West. But Nate, when he was in high school, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and colitis. And then probably about 7 years ago, he had a surgery to try and help his symptoms. He ended up with a colostomy bag, but his presence of life was better. And then late February, he got the untimely diagnosis of liver cancer. And then after a very short battle and only a few treatments, Nate lost his battle, I believe, on May 21st. So being very, very strong football minded, my dad was a longtime coach at Southland. His dad was a coach at McLeod West. Football was very, very important to our family. So it's just a nice tie-in. And then Pelican Rapids also last August lost one of their coaches to cancer as well, Ryan Severson. Great man. So I just figured that was, with both schools and towns being directly affected by cancer, it would be a great game to tie this all together.
So Eli Beachy is the head football coach at Pelican Rapids. Did you guys have a conversation? Did you bring this up to him?
I brought up, I just shot him a text and I just said, we're going to use this game as our tackle cancer game. We're going to read a little snippet about both coaches. We want to make sure that, we tie it into both schools at that time. And he was 100% on board and thought it would be a great way. So for the game, I think we'll just probably read a little bit about each one of the coaches and what they meant to our staffs. And then we'll probably do a 50-50 raffle. We'll do a donation at the gate, things like that, just trying to raise some funds. And then, hopefully it goes well.
Just for point of reference, Ryan Severson was 51 years old and he died in August of 2023. What do you think, what do you hope will come out of this game on Friday? Not just from a monetary standpoint, but maybe just for both communities to kind of come together around these two coaches.
Well, just a way to honor both these individuals who meant so much to our communities. I think, cancer affects everybody. I mean, I've been in a place where they said, if you have had a direct relation to somebody who's died of cancer, stand up. And then, if you've known someone who's died of cancer, and basically you get the entire crowd standing at that point in time. And, cancer is an ugly thing and it's a secret type deal. And all of a sudden it shows up and, depending on when someone feels it or is diagnosed with it and what kind, it affects, I think it's something that affects everybody's life in one way or the other. And what you're doing and raising funds for the research part of it. And, almost all those funds stay right here in Minnesota. And, I felt strongly about it many, many years ago. And that's why I became the top cancer rep. This is the first year that I kind of stepped aside just with Nate and things like that. It was just, it got to be a lot. And Ryan Searstead at Crosby took it over for me. And he's doing a fantastic job with it.
In terms of football, your dominance of Pelican Rapids has been amazing. You've won 10 consecutive games against them. You beat them twice last year, regular season and playoffs. They haven't beaten Barnesville since 2014. What is the secret sauce that you seem to have football wise on Pelican Rapids?
Well, actually, just right now overall, we've had a really good run. I think we've won eight straight section titles. And, it's just, we got a great community here in Barnesville. They're very supportive. Our kids just really, really buy into our weight program and they put a lot of time into it and it shows. And Pelican Rapids is a very close town to us. It's a competitive game. It's it's just we've had a nice string here, and kind of like the Caledonias and the Chatfields and things like that. It's just when your kids get it rolling and they believe in the system, I think that anything's possible. We're a very run-dominated team. Since putting in the power T offense, I think we've been to three state championships, and I think we made the semifinals three other times. Made the semifinals three other times, and it's a system, and our kids believe in it and they buy into it, and whether it's Pelican Rapids or Holly or anything like that, it's just we take one game at a time and just kind of plug away, I guess.
Well, it is going to be a special night, that's for sure. Friday night, September 13th, Pelican Rapids at Barnesville. And Coach, I appreciate you doing this. And thanks for telling us a little bit about Nathan, a little bit about Ryan, so that the people watching can appreciate what you guys are doing on Friday the 13th. Thank you.
Yeah.
When I ask friends and family what they want out of a financial institution, the word trust always comes up. And that's when I tell them about my friends over at True Stone Financial. They're a not-for-profit credit union owned by the very people that they serve. Trust isn't just in their name. It's part of everything they do, from checking accounts to home equity loans to mortgages. When you visit True Stone, you're visiting your neighbors, straightforward people that are enthusiastic about your financial well-being. Look, you can get a checking account anywhere, but if you want exceptional financial experience, visit True Stone Financial. Start your experience at truestone.org. True Stone is an equal housing opportunity lender. Minnesota Valley Lutheran celebrated Ethan Holtmeyer, a 2023 grad who just finished chemo treatment for leukemia a few days ago and is in remission. MVL won last Friday night in his honor. The pink truck in the picture belongs to Ethan's parents, who own a local construction company, and along with the football program, are big supporters of Tackle Cancer. Congratulations to Ethan. I've mentioned before that the junior class in Minnesota is talented and deep and could be one of the best Division I recruiting classes to ever come out of the state. Forest Lake's Howie Johnson is one of those players at the top of the list. So far this season, Howie has 22 tackles, 4 for losses, and 1 sack in 2 games. Forest Lake head coach Brad Beskow thinks Howie is a special player for many reasons.
Everything about him, and it's not even just on the field stuff, right? It's off the field. It's his work ethic in the weight room. It's the way he cares about his teammates, the way he shows up to community service events. He's obviously done a good job of taking his physical talents, he's 6'4", 260, and putting that to work with his mental and understanding the playbook and knowing what offenses are going to try to do to him and stuff like that too. So couple that with the fact that he's a tireless worker in everything that he does in the classroom and the weight room, that kind of makes him the player that he is.
Well, Howie Johnson is a big part of the junior class in Minnesota, which is one of the best we've seen in a long time. And I'll get to all that in a minute. But Howie joins me. He is a junior defensive lineman from Forest Lake High School, 6'3", 255. And I understand, Howie, you have become quite the yoga master over the off season. Tell me about that.
Well, I've been told by a lot of coaches, in order to be able to bend more and to influence the pass rush game even more, you got to be loose. Your hips have to be, what's the word? I don't know, but you have to be loose is basically what they said. And they basically do a lot of yoga. So I said, all right. So this entire off season, I've just been doing a lot of yoga, a lot of stretching to stay limber. That's the word. That's what I was looking for.
So has it helped? Can you tell a difference?
Oh, yes. It's helped so much.
In what way? How?
My hips aren't nearly as tight as before. I'm able to bend more. I have more range of motion. I get looser faster.
Well, that's only going to help you as the season goes along, right? To be able to move quicker?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the camp in June, the Gopher Camp, because you walk into the Gopher Camp in the middle of June without an offer, and you walk out not only with an offer, but you commit. Tell me about what happened during that camp.
Well, let's see. Walking into the camp, I knew like I had something to work for because I really, really wanted the offer. And I mean, looking at the Gophers, I've always watched them growing up, and I've always loved going to games and waking up on Saturdays, watching their games at home. But going in there, I knew I had a lot of work to be done, and I wanted that offer, so I was going to go earn it. And I mean, the camp went amazing. One-on-ones were fun. I went against this kid from Kansas. He was absolute stud. Great guy. He definitely pushed me to my limits and showed me like leverage really is everything in football, as we may all know. But building up to it, I after the camp, Coach Debo came over. He wanted me to introduce him to everybody that had come to the camp. So I went around. This is my siblings, my mom, my dad, stepmom, stepdad, so on and so forth. And then he brought us up to our his player lounge. And we sat there and they talked to me for a little bit, asking me, how did you get into football? And if I'm being honest, when I was younger, my mom brought me to one of my older brother's games. And I'm like, Mom, what's this game? She goes, it's called football. I'm like, Mom, can I play it? Sure thing. So I signed up for football, and the rest is history, basically, in that scenario. But we just made some small talk, asked me how my nutrition was, if I would have been a long-time Gopher fan, which I have from day one when I found out what football was. And Debo left the room, so we made some more small talk with the other coaches. And he came back and he's like, Coach Fleck's ready to talk to you. So I went to Coach Fleck's office. It was great. It was just a surreal experience in front of him because, I mean, I had seen this guy on TV every Saturday for years and years, and I never thought I'd be able to ever even converse with him. I never thought he'd know who I was.
Yeah.
But there I was sitting in his office, getting to talk to him for a little bit. And to make that long story short, the meeting went well. And he asked me, you got any questions? So I said, you got any pickle juice? Because I'm about to cramp. So my family. So he's like, all right, I'll give you 5 minutes. So he left the office. We talked for a little bit. He came back in. He asked me what do I think? And I said, Coach, I'm in. So then I was like, hey, congratulations, hugs, handshakes, good job, blah, blah, blah. And then we walk out of the office, and I got Coach Debo sitting on a corner looking at me, waiting for the answer. So I said, Coach, I'm a Gopher now. He just picks me up, hugs me. That man could give good hugs.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be saying, but just a surreal experience. And I was all smiles going home. Told my mates I'm now a Gopher, and yeah, it was just amazing.
So you make this commitment in June, and I read somewhere where you said, I don't plan to decommit because that shows that my word is weak.
Correct.
So you are firm on this.
Yes, very firm. Because, I mean, growing up, like my mom was always about loyalty. Stay loyal. If you say something, do something. I say I'm committed to the Gophers, I'm going to stay with the Gophers. I'm not going on other visits. I'm not going to take junior days to some other colleges. I'm staying with the Gophers. I stick to my word.
Well, congratulations to you. And as I said earlier, Howie's part of this junior class that is fantastic. Andy Trout, the big offensive lineman from Rocori, Roman Voss, the stud at Jackson County Central, the two quarterbacks, Nick Kinsey from Stillwater and Mason West from Edina, Owen Lindner, the offensive lineman from Chan, just to name some of the great players in this class. It may be one of the best we've seen in a long time. What do you think it says about Minnesota football that we're seeing such a great class? And we're seeing this happen a lot, right? We're seeing a lot of D1 football players coming out of the state.
If I'm being honest, I really think that it shows like we have dedication, and Minnesota's been razzed a lot for, oh, you don't supply a lot of good football players, and the South is where it's at. And I think some of our guys have definitely like taken that to heart and decided to prove some people wrong. So I think that we have just a lot of work ethic here, and we all got dreams. We all got dreams we want to chase. And I think that most of these guys, I would assume, are trying to play big time college football and hopefully make it to the league one day. Like, that's my goal.
Yeah.
My goal, go play on any day of the week, playing great football, and retire my mom and put my grandma wherever she wants. That's really my goal and aspiration.
So give me some weightlifting numbers, because I see videos of you on Twitter. Tell me what your big time weightlifting numbers are right now.
My bench press is 300 pounds. My squat is 500 pounds. My hang clean is 285, and my deadlift is 500.
So why is that important? Tell other football players out there, maybe young kids who are watching this, they're 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, they're just starting their football journey. Why is all that important?
Well, let's start off with speed, right? Everybody wants to be fast, at least I'd assume. And a strong muscle is fast muscle. You know, you can have quick twitch, you can have power, speed. Being strong helps you in speed. If you say you're a lineman, having strong upper body and a strong lower body, you can throw people out of the way. You can get off blocks. You can make blocks easier. You can get around people. You can run through tackles. If it's like a 4th and goal situation, you can stuff them and run them back for a huge TFL, and it looks really cool on film. Yeah, it's basically, that's the big points.
But that's what makes you the football player that you are. And I'll just throw some stats out from last season, because this season's just underway. But last year as a sophomore in 6A, 80 tackles, 28 tackles for losses, 7 sacks. What do you think makes you a great football player?
Doing the little things right. I mean, it's been burned into my skull that if you do the little things right, everything else falls into place. Like the foot hand placement, extension, where your feet are, fitting your head on the right side of the blocker, so on and so forth. It's all just the little things that help build into the big things.
And for you in the off season, my understanding is one of those little things was to watch film of offensive linemen, looking for tendencies.
Correct.
Why did you do that?
So I just learned how to game plan better. I mean, if an offensive lineman shoots your hands in the pass rush scenario, you can figure out, all right, I can do this move to get him to bait his hands so I can get past him a lot easier and swipe hands, or his feet aren't fast, so I could do this move in the run game, or he has a weak inside in the pass rush, or just little things like that.
So you tried to pick up some things.
Yes, learning how to diagnose tendencies in offenses, and like which way the quarterback goes, if he goes down easy, how these guys like to turn, so on and so forth.
Final question: personal goals. I know everybody wants to win state. I know you want to take your team to the state playoffs, deep into the state playoffs. But for you personally, in this junior year, what do you have numbers in your head? Do you have things that you personally are going to shoot for?
I want to match my goal. I want to match the same stat numbers I had last year. That would definitely be a big one. Either get close to match or better them. And I'm very close with this senior class. And I really want to give these guys an amazing senior year of football, because all of these guys, they're diehard football guys. They eat, breathe, sleep, live football. And I'm the exact same way. I couldn't live without it. So I want to give these guys the greatest senior year they could imagine, which would either be winning a state title or getting into state playoffs or playing at the U.S. Bank again. Another goal would definitely be just to grow as a man, and to just learn to understand the game more, and to start enveloping Jesus Christ into my gameplay and giving him all the glory, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, I would not be where I am. If I couldn't do it, if he didn't bless me with the height, the muscle, the attributes, everything. I mean, everything was blessed to me by him. So another goal of mine is to definitely grow in my relationship through Christ and to help spread his name using football.
Well, I wish you nothing but good luck this year. It has been fun to watch you so far, and I'm sure this year is going to be even more exciting. Howie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, sir.
My thanks to Howie. This is the second straight season Park High in Cottage Grove is wearing Guardian caps during games. The Wolfpack were the first team in Minnesota to commit to that last year, and head coach Rick Frickland is not changing his mind on the safety aspect for players in games in 2024. And he talked to me about reactions to his decision.
Very, very positive. Lots of people asking lots of questions. It was really interesting. About 3 weeks ago, I got an email from someone in New Mexico that said his state was telling him he couldn't do it. And I said, well, the NFHS in our research and discussion and conversation said that you could, and I'm pretty sure that the NFHS is above your state association, but don't get in trouble, right? So it's coming, and then in NFL preseason, it's just becoming more and more common to see those caps by a couple guys. So I'll be curious to see who the first one is for a game this year.
I was in Stillwater last Thursday night for the Ponies Youth Night. Amazing. They have over 800 kids in their youth football program, both tackle and flag, and they all lined up to high-five the varsity players before the big game. It was also Tackle Cancer Night for the Ponies. They are one of the top teams in raising funds for TC. The Ponies hosted rival Woodbury and won the game 35-14, but the night was about the next generation and raising funds and awareness for Minnesota's cancer community. Next week on this show, former Waconia Gopher and NFL player Max Williams will join me in studio, and we'll also talk to the great offensive lineman for Annandale, Gavin Wang, and we'll recap Week 3 of Minnesota high school football. For producer Alex Haugen and the great folks here at Talk North, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week.